Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station, its owners, staff, or management. The following program is sponsored by Rob Warner at Guild Mortgage, NMLS number 825102. Welcome to the Happy Hour with Rob Warner, an hour of stimulating conversation adding value to your financial future. Rob brings helpful insights into many aspects of the mortgage and real estate industry. Now, here's your host, Rob Warner.
Welcome to the Happy Hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage, and I hope everybody's having a great day today being Labor Day. By the way, what is Labor Day? I'm going to read out of Wikipedia because I did not know what this actually was by memory. But Labor Day in the United States is a public holiday celebrated on the first Monday in September, and it honors the American labor movement and the contributions that workers have made to the strength, prosperity, laws, and well-being of the country. Okay, so there you go. And it is also considered the unofficial end of summer in the United States, and the holiday is a federal holiday. So I thought I'd start out there. Now for my guests, we have 3 guests today. It's going to be a good show. We have Lori Candelaria. Am I saying that right, Lori?
Correct.
And we have Lauren Bender, and we have Mark Tuning. Now, Lori and Lauren are basically with Project Ride, and Mark Tuning is a realtor at Hybrid Brokers Realty, and he is a volunteer for the Project Ride. So anyway, we're going to get started. So let's start with you, Lori. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks. Thank you for this opportunity to share our little gem in Elk Grove with the region here.
Oh, yep. I'm happy to have you on the show, especially being a horse owner and lover like I am. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself personally before we get into the Project Ride?
Certainly. Well, I'm originally from the East Coast and found my way out west, not on a horse, but on an eager mission to find peace and enjoyment in my daily life. And I was thrilled to come to the West Coast and enjoy all the best of what we have. And it happens to actually be right here in the barn.
Oh, very good. So, Project Ride. What is Project Ride?
Well, Project Ride was established in 1979. We are a therapeutic horseback riding program for children and adults with special needs.
Like what type of special needs?
We serve clients with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, autism, ADHD. We even have riders with Parkinson's and MS, children and adults from 3 to 93. And it's a recreational educational program where our riders are receiving therapy and don't even know it.
Oh, wow. Are you the founder of it?
Not at all. There's a woman named Chris McParland. Back in 1979, she's an adaptive PE instructor, and she had the vision to, here we were in a rural area of Elk Grove and thought, wow, is there a way that these students at Jesse Baker School, which is whom we originally were affiliated with and still remain, that's a special needs school of about 175 students, and in it, they wanted to decide for kids who cannot play volleyball or having more challenging times with baseball or hockey or other traditional sports. We come from a rural area and we have horses. Is there a way we can adapt a PE program where kids can benefit from therapeutic horseback riding right here in our own backyard?
So basically, she just came up with this idea. She had never, it just was something that struck her one day.
Well, she had done reading and research, and there is a place called back in the Midwest that she was modeling this sort of idea, and said, let's try it in our own region. And from that day, let's see, there were 9 students that originally were part of the program. And today it's blossomed to more than 500 riders a year. And at that time, they only had just personal horses from other folks' backyards that they take down Elk Grove Boulevard and bring right to the arena in Elk Grove.
I imagine Elk Grove looked a little different back then than it does now, right?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So talk to me about your mission. What's the mission is there like a mission statement or what is the...
Yeah. Well, our mission really overall is for everyone that comes through that barn, it's to improve the quality of life for others. And we all work around the mission to improve, especially those lives with that have special needs and challenges, whether they be social, emotional, physical, cognitive challenges for our students. Our job is to improve them, and in doing so, we improve our own lives.
Yeah, I know that when I get on my horse and ride, it's very therapeutic for me. You know, it really brings me to a place. It's hard to explain to folks if you haven't been on a horse before, but
It
just
actually
touching the
is.
horse and hugging its neck. I mean, it just does something wonderful for you. It just puts you in a nice, serene, quiet place
Yeah.
in your mind. I'm sure it does that for your
We
kids.
have noticed that, yes. In fact, that connection between a horse and a rider is so magical. In fact, that's kind of our tagline: is harnessing the magic to change lives. What we find is there's a trust that's built between the horse and rider that only they can experience, and it's so unique to each of them that it reverberates with those that are around them. And we have found over the years, and again, being a 38-year organization, it works. We know that that relationship and connection and intimacy is particularly special. And something about that 1,200-pound gentle giant that maybe a 100-pound student rider might actually have the opportunity to control when he couldn't or she couldn't maybe control other things in their daily lives. And this is one of the places when they're 6 feet off the ground, having more visual acuity and better listening. They respond to one of our instructors, for example, Lauren here, who can speak to that in a very magical way.
So, do the students have, or students, I'm calling them students. Are they students?
They are students. This is an educational, recreational program. So we focus on things like life skills, alphabetical sequencing, numerical sequencing, and all sorts of other educational
Can
skills.
you explain that real quick? How
Absolutely.
does that work? What do you mean? Okay, who are we? Who are you?
I am Lauren. I am one of the PATH International instructors at Project Ride. And so Project Ride is actually an acronym for Riding Instruction Designed for Education. And so a lot of what we do in the arena is helping build, like Lori said, life skills, also learning our letters, numbers, colors. So it's a type of fun way to learn without being in a school type environment. You're on the back of a horse.
How do you do that though? Just walk me through that. Can you walk me through it real
So
quick?
an example would be if we're working on fine motor skills, we might have a game playing Mr. Potato Head. And so what we do is we put all the pieces for the potato head on the rail, and we'll point to our eyes and say, what are these? What is your potato missing? And they have to identify that object, take their horse and go find that object on the rail, and then physically put it in the proper spot on the potato head.
Oh,
So that's like an example of one of our games that we would play. We might also play basketball on top of a horse, trying to identify colors of the basketballs that they would choose, and also working on counting. So if I said, bring your horse and I want you to shoot 5 times and count to 5, so they'd have to practice counting. So each game that we create as instructors has some kind of educational piece put to it where the kids are having fun without knowing that they're working on an educational skill.
So they're on the horse the whole time.
Yep, the whole time.
Through the program, always on a horse.
Yep.
Oh, that's just, I don't know. That's awesome.
Yeah, we also do ground lessons as well. So teaching a child how to bathe a horse and relating that to how do we take care of ourselves? How do we, bathe ourselves when we're at home? So work on hygiene skills, things like that. Grooming the horse, brushing the horse. What type of things do you use at home to brush your hair? How many times do you brush your hair or your teeth a day? It's similar. We relate everything to the horses.
That's just great. I wanted to ask you, do they ride the same, do they have the same horse throughout the program, the students, or do they change horses during the program?
So often they change horses. It depends on what specifically we're working on. If we have a child that, for instance, is, tight in their legs and need to work on stretching out, then we put them, on a wider horse that helps, stretch their legs versus a narrow horse. So there's a lot of thought put behind what each child is paired to a certain horse for. But often they do change weekly so that they get to experience the different kinds of motion. Because if you are a horse person, you know that each horse kind of moves differently. Some have a front to back movement, some have a side to side movement, and some have an all around movement. So whatever the student needs for input, that's kind of what we base the horse and rider pairing on.
And the students, are they okay with that?
Yeah,
switching
they
around?
love it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so
they
they're not
get
like
their
missing a
favorites.
horse like that they had the previous?
Well, they get their favorites, and they'll request to ride a certain one each week, but we like to mix it up. And then, if they have a favorite, we try and pair them up with that horse as much as possible.
Oh, that is great. We're coming up on a break soon, but where do you get your horses from? That was one of my questions I want to ask you.
Well, our horses mainly come from word of mouth or advertising. We take our horses on a lease loan, which means we do not take them on a donation. We pay for the cost of care as long as they're happy and working in our program. If they're unhappy and it's not a good fit for them, we return them to their owners. But basically, how it works is we trial them and, make sure that it's a good fit for the horse. If we don't force our horses to do anything if they don't want to. So if this is not the job for them, we don't make them do it. It's all about the horse having a good quality of life as well. So that way they can help the students more.
Very good. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Happy Hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage. We are joined by Lori Candelaria. I'm hopefully getting the names right. And Lauren Bender from Project Ride. We were talking about the horses real quick because I was interested to know how you get your horses, and you were saying that they're on a lease to you, basically. So share again on that. So I have a horse. Let's say I have a horse, and I do have a horse. And are they older horses, younger horses? What type of horses are you looking for?
So we are looking for horses that are, actually, there's not really an age. It just depends on how broke they are and how calm and what qualities they possess. So we're looking for calm, sound-minded horses that are easy to trailer, don't spook, that are pretty much desensitized to a lot of things. And like I said, the lease loan, we'd come out and we'd look at the horse and evaluate it, see if it's a good fit for a trial period. And once that trial period is done, we decide if, it's a good fit for us and the horse. Once it is, we sign lease loan paperwork that basically says that we are responsible for paying for all the care of the horse as long as they're, able to work for us in the program. And we just go from there. And they have, the best life at Project Ride. They get groomed about 10 times a day, treats all the time. Love. All they have to do is primarily walk, a little bit of trotting, and that's pretty much it.
And how much do they get worked every day, these horses?
They work about 3 hours of walking a day, spread out, over time. Each lesson is a half an hour, and there's breaks in between, and we rotate horses for the lesson. So I would say a total, probably each horse walks about, 2 or 3 hours a day.
And how long are the horses in the program, basically? What's like your longest horse you've had so far?
The longest horse we've had in our program is Benny, and he has been in our program for about 6 or 7 years now.
Oh my goodness. So what's the reason somebody gives up a horse? Is they're not riding it anymore?
Yeah, a lot of people, the horses are just sitting, and they, want their horse to have a job, and they kind of see that the horse is bored and needs something to do. So they contact us, or it could be a circumstance where, they just don't have enough time to give to the horse and they want the horse to have a lot of love and attention.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's great. So the horses, do they get worked? I'm going off on a lot of stuff because I'm interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
Do they get lunged or worked, or besides just the students being on them?
If they need a little tune-up or something, usually one of the instructors or one of our volunteers will get on. But most of the time our horses are so well-behaved and they're, working consistently that they don't need extra rides other than our kids. But if they do need some exercise, we give them that. Another special thing about our program and our horses is they actually work 1 week on, 1 week off. So they have it made. They have 1 week of work and 1 week of vacation, as we call it,
Every
at
horse
our ranch.
has
Every
that?
horse.
Oh, that's
So they work for 1 week straight, and then the following week they get the week off at our 52-acre ranch in Harold.
okay. Wait a minute. We'll talk about this 52-acre ranch in Harold now. What's the deal with that?
So we have 2 locations. One is our barn in Elk Grove, and our other is our ranch in Harold. And that's where our horses live when they're not working in the program. They have pastures assigned with other horses. Sometimes they're by themselves if that's what they need. And we have a caretaker that lives on that residence that, helps watch over the horses. Like, for instance, it's been pretty hot out and some of our horses, can't tolerate heat well. So we have somebody watching them 24/7 to make sure they have the best care.
So how big is the facility here in Elk Grove?
The facility in Elk Grove, 34,000 square feet.
30. Okay. All right.
It's a big warehouse building, indoor arena. And if you haven't checked it out, please feel free to come into our barn doors and see where the magic happens.
Well, I'm committed to coming and volunteering, which we're going to talk about a little later in the show, because that's what Mark's going to talk about because he's a volunteer. But that Harold property again, they go there every other week, the horses, or?
Yes. So the horses that aren't in the barn working that week are at our ranch resting, and then we swap them. And then on weekends when we don't have lessons, for instance, Sunday, all the horses are out at the ranch just being horses and enjoying
Oh,
their
my
life.
goodness. See, you can tell I care a lot about horses. That's why I'm asking all these questions, because there's nothing worse than having a horse sit around in a stall their whole life, in a 12 by 12 pen and never getting out. To me, that's torture for an animal, for a large animal like a horse. So
Right.
this is really wonderful to hear that you have another facility. Do you own both those properties then?
So the Elk Grove location we do own. The ranch in Harold we lease from the county,
Oh, the county of what?
Sacramento County.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was Sacramento County or not.
Yeah.
Huh, wonderful. So how do people find out? How do you get the word out about your program? Can you share? Lori's coming back on. Hey, Lori.
Hey there. Yes, we can certainly share how we attract volunteers. Number one, the big horses help. The people do love the animals, and some of our volunteers come to us because they simply love horses and they focus on maintaining the barn, doing stable chores, and working solely with the horses. Other of our volunteers come simply for the kids, working with these special needs kids, knowing that they can actually make a change in somebody's life. Usually on a daily basis, we have approximately an average of 35 volunteers a day that come through our barn doors. This is an absolutely 99% run program. We could not do it without our volunteers, and that speaks to everybody 14 to their 90s. We need you. There's something for everyone.
So, okay, when you say come through your barn door, I mean, can you just show up there and you'll have a task, or do you have to call and make arrangements to volunteer?
We do host an orientation monthly, and we welcome folks to come in. It's a couple of hours. We do some arena instruction along with some classroom learning. And within those 2 hours, the next day, you can come in and volunteer.
Okay, that's great. Now talk to me about the students. How do they find out about your program? We're back with Lauren again, by the way, folks.
I work with the students, so it's easy for me to explain. Most of our students come from Jesse Baker School, which is actually located on our property. Literally, they can walk across their track at school and end up at Project Ride. So we contract with the school district for those lessons, and then we have private lessons, which can be anybody with a special need, minor, major, anything. And usually they hear about us through social media, from word of mouth from other families, from support groups they're in. We are in a lot of places, so word gets around and they come to us and we evaluate them and go from there. Once you're in the Project Ride family, as we call it, because everybody is just so close, it's just amazing.
So your staff is primarily volunteer staff? Or are there a lot of other folks that are actually work for Project Ride?
Yes. We do have 6 part-time workers, an executive director that's there full-time 24/7. She's been there 15 years. We're lucky and very blessed to have her. And the rest of our works, anything that we can have a volunteer support one of our part-time staffer to do, we do that. And that's mostly comes through our fundraising tasks in the office. And then in the arena, for every student that rides, it requires 3 volunteers. So while a student is mounted on a horse in the interest of their utmost safety and security, we have 2 sidewalkers, one on the left side, one on the right side of the horse, that walk beside the horse and keeping that special student safe. And then we have a specially trained leader who does nothing but take care of the horse. And so we need those 3 people, plus our wonderful instructor like Lauren Bender here, to support one riding lesson. So it is a major, intense operation for every single rider.
Talk about that other school that's on the property. What is that school about?
Jessie Baker is a special needs school, and it was in that area 10 years before Project Ride existed. So as I referred to earlier with Chris McParland, who happened to be the adaptive PE instructor there, in looking for ways to further engage her students, they decided to actually incorporate Project Ride into the Jessie Baker program. So we do have 175 students there at Jessie Baker, and the majority of those students ride with us.
Okay. How do you earn your money or do the students, are they charged or are they subsidized by the school district? How does that all work? Can you share that?
Well, yes, we are very, very fortunate. About 25% of our operating budget comes from applying for grants, federal, community, and city grants. Another 25% probably comes from our corporate sponsorships and our great kindred spirits. And then a third part of it comes a lot from private donations. And the riding lessons, we do charge for $30 for a 30-minute lesson. And anybody who cannot pay is never turned away. We have what's called a jockey club. And in that jockey club, we have a tuition assistance effort that lets every student ride.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So between public and private sponsorship and donation, along with our city grants, that diverse source of funding helps us to succeed for 38 years and hopefully another 38.
So every special needs student has an opportunity at Project Ride.
Absolutely. It's our priority that everybody can benefit from this type of therapy.
So you don't have to be wealthy to be part of the program, which is outstanding because I'm sure that has a lot of impact. I mean, people don't all have money, right? And so
that is true, and we are very fortunate to have some of our wonderful corporate sponsors that allow us to pay for feed and maintenance of the horses, and fabulous veterinarians and farriers. I mean, this is all the back work that happens in the barn that sometimes the riders, folks never really see. But we could not have a successful program unless we had the volunteers helping us to clean the stalls, clean up the arena, take care of our gardening, and our children.
Wonderful. Well, hold that thought because we're going to our break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to the Happy Hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage. We're joined by the folks at Project Ride. Lori Candelaria and Lauren Bender are here with us in studio. And Mark Tuning, who Mark hasn't had a chance to talk yet, but we're going to get him in soon because he's a volunteer, in which case I'm going to become a volunteer because this is a very, very cool program for special needs students. I'm going to call them students because you said their ages are from what, 3 to 93. 3 to 93. Think about that. That's just incredible. So, Lauren, real quick, what is the average age of your student, by the way, while we're on that age topic?
Oh, it varies so much. We have lots of 3-year-olds, we have lots of 8-year-olds, lots of teens, and a few adults right now. So the oldest one I've ever taught, I think, was 98.
98, and had that person ever been on a horse before?
She rode when she was younger, and it was her last wish to get back on a horse again, and so we made that happen for her.
Oh, my goodness. Boy, I don't even know what it'd be like to be on a horse at 98.
Hey, she was pretty sharp. It was quite amazing. I was surprised, but she was a lot of fun to teach, and she still asked me, when are we going out to gallop in the pastures? And I was like, oh, hold on, let's take it easy here.
She was doing that?
Oh, yeah.
At 98?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my goodness. What about the 3-year-olds? Are they pretty excited to be on a big animal, too? Or are they scared?
The really cool part about the 3-year-olds is it can be hit or miss. So some students, when they very first start riding at 3, will just get right on and get going, and they just love it. And I've had some that, because the horse is so soothing, they've fall asleep on the horse, and we walk around while they're sleeping, and it's adorable. And I've had other ones that are completely petrified, and I've literally, they're screaming, kicking. I pick them up, plop them up there, and say, walk on, which means go in our program. And once they take a few steps, you could just see their whole demeanor change, and from tears to smiles.
So most of the time it's smiles, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm sure you don't have many people that it actually...
Not many.
That it doesn't work for, right?
Right, but if they are fearful, we do push them to an extent, and we'll take as much time as possible. I've had a rider who was literally afraid to walk into the barn, and I spent about 6 months with him just every week, getting him closer into the barn, and then to finally touching the horse with one finger was like a big thing for us. We were so excited over it, and we didn't think he would ever get on, but we never gave up. He was about 8 at the time, and eventually I never gave up, and now he runs into the barn, jumps on his horse, and gets going. And before, he wouldn't even come near a horse.
So you're taking all that time with a student, even before getting them on a horse. That's so wonderful.
Yep. We don't give up, and as long as the parents are with us on it, it usually ends up working out great. Some kids just take longer than others to adjust.
Mark, you're not on camera. Folks, we video this, and by the way, just so you know, it's on my Facebook, the Happy Hour with Rob Warner Facebook page, and also the happyhourwithrobwarner.com. These shows are videoed so you could see everybody. But Mark, we don't have an extra camera for you. But can you talk about your volunteer experience, please?
Sure. I am one of the sidewalkers when I get a chance to get over there, and I also am a leader in training. So as a sidewalker, we're kind of like the safety officers there. We're there for the students to make sure they're sitting upright on the horse. If anything happens, we can get them off the horse immediately. But it's more we just keep a hand either on the horse or the student themselves to keep them upright and make sure everything's nice and safe. And then as a leader, we lead the horse around per instruction from the instructors, like Lauren. She'll tell us where we want to go with the horses.
So you're a realtor by trade, but what got you excited and involved with Project Ride? How did that happen for you?
Well, actually, we went over there. My daughter had been a volunteer years ago at the program, and then as a company, we went over there looking to do our donation, give back to the community.
Oh, Hybrid Brokers?
Yeah, at Hybrid Brokers. And we went over and talked to them, and I got interested in volunteering because I am in the neighborhood and I do have time. I'm semi-retired right now, although I work as a realtor. I do have extra time on my hands. So I do that. My wife also works there. She works in the office on the weekends and sometimes one night a week. And then we also help at the events. We have they have quite a few fundraisers there. The steak feed, which I think we'll talk about in a bit. The steak feed, there's a big crab feed, which is the largest crab feed on the West Coast. It's quite the thing. And the steak feed, they've got a spaghetti feed coming up, and then October 14th, there's a craft fair there that's a fundraiser, and I'm going to be one of the crafters there. I've been working on projects at my house for the last month or so, trying to get some a couple of wine bars that are repurposed, pump organs and lighting fixtures and different things that I do as a craft, and I'll be there promoting those. And anything we can do to get to get people in there, get them involved, get them interested in the program.
So talk about these craft fairs and such, Lori.
Well, what's so beautiful about our fundraisers is that all the proceeds go directly to the children. And in fact, the craft bazaar that's coming up, it's only our second time, and we already have 65 vendors situated for October 14th. So everything that's antiqued or repurposed crafts will be there, and the entire public in Sacramento region is welcome to join us for a day at the barn. Now, the horses won't be there, which is similar to our other fundraisers as well. Even though they're housed there all week, on the weekend, the entire barn is transformed. In fact, for our spaghetti feed coming up Saturday, September 23rd, each of the horse stalls will be transformed into a carnival game. So this is a place where all our special needs kids and families can come out, all the siblings, support the program in a way that is just fun and enjoyable and free for an evening.
This is September 23rd. What time is this event?
This is from, the doors open at 5 o'clock. It's $5 for children. Come join us. It's until 14 years old. And then we will have dinner served at 7 o'clock. All you can eat spaghetti, salad, garlic bread, and lots of fun.
So where is your ranch? Could you give that out to the folks so they know where the location is, please?
Absolutely. We're at 8840 Southside Boulevard in Elk Grove. It is at the corner intersection of Elk Grove Boulevard and Elk Grove Florin Road off of 99. And it's wonderful. I'm glad Mark mentioned the crab feed, which we serve 1,800 people. And in that fundraising event, we actually transform the horse stalls into a black and white affair. So we have 300 volunteers that serve more than 1,880 people. So you can see on every level how volunteers can help. And on this particular Labor Day, I think it's so apropos that people are coming together for this common mission and work their little tails off to make a difference for our special needs kids.
Oh, wow, that's excellent. What time is that event, by the way?
That event, it's usually sold out in October or November, so please call in advance. We'll be booking it soon after Spaghetti Feed. But that event is from 6 to 10, and it's always the third weekend in January. So we start the 2018 off with a bang.
Crab feed. What
Crab
other?
feed
While we're
it
on
is.
the whole event calendar, are there any other events that
The other event that's very important to us is our scholarship dinner, and that is a steak dinner, and it's in memory of one of our beloved volunteers that has since passed, Mr. John Lewis. And we are very fortunate at that day to honor 2 or 3 of our students with a full year of riding due to our generous sponsors.
full year riding, meaning define full year, meaning they don't have to pay anything for their lessons?
Correct. They don't have to pay anything for their lessons.
For a full year.
Yep, and we try and make it a perpetual scholarship as well. So if there's more funding available, we keep them going for as long as money can.
What determines if they win a scholarship?
So usually the instructors get together and we, pick a family that's, really in need, but also a family that, is a big supporter of Project Ride and helps us in whatever way they can. And we usually vote on that as a staff, and it's always a really hard decision, of course, but we always end up picking 1 or 2 kiddos. So
Yeah, that must be tough, huh?
yes.
Do the families participate with the students on a regular basis on their, when they bring their student there to ride? Are they part of that, or are they in the background? How does that work? Can you explain
So
it?
different ways. Some parents, it's their time to just relax and be, and we, they give their kid to us, and we handle them, and they can take a break. Other parents, love to sit there and watch their child accomplish all these new things and love to see their kid on a horse. It really just depends on the parent, and if they have, other siblings or not with them that come and check them out. We like to say that the riders, this is their thing that they can do. And, the siblings can play a lot of other sports and stuff, but usually there's not a lot for special needs kids. And so for it to be something that they can say, here's my sport, my thing that I get to do, the smiles on their faces are just indescribable.
Yeah, they probably prefer to be on their own, with the horse and with the staff, and not with necessarily their family being part of that one thing, huh? Because
Yeah,
that's
they
their
love
own
it.
thing, right? So the family just drops off the child sometimes, comes back, or just
They'll stay. They have to stay on the
Oh.
premises, so they'll either relax in our lounge or they'll watch from our viewing stand and see what's going on in the lesson.
Oh, very good. Well, we're coming up on a break, folks, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Happy Hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage. We are joined by the Project Ride folks. We have three folks here, actually three folks. That makes no sense. Lori Candelaria and Lauren Bender, and we have Mark Tuning of Hybrid Brokers Realty who volunteers for this organization. And Mark, we're going to turn it back over to you for a few minutes because you have a story to share with us.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, one of the things I get as a volunteer is the interaction with the children and the horses, but the children primarily. One of the riders in particular, who has some physical disabilities, needs assistance sitting on the horse and whatnot. And he doesn't interact a lot with the volunteers or anybody for that matter. But one day when he was riding in the arena, the gates are numbered. And as we were walking around the arena with the horse and him on the horse, he was out loud just saying the numbers that were on the gate. And I heard his parents gasp.
Wow.
And they said, "Is he repeating the numbers?" And we said, "Yeah." We told them, "Yeah." And they were crying. And it kind of chokes me up.
I'm presuming he never did that before.
Never did that before that I know of. But just being there and him picking up on that and on his own was able to start just reciting basic things like a number and seeing the number and relating to it and knowing what it is. And his parents saw that, and it was just a very gratifying thing to see.
Oh, that's touching. Wow. So when you said that sometimes the riders can't, do you have to support them on the horse sometimes? You have to actually hold them up?
Yeah, usually the instructors like Lauren, a lot of times they have to physically pick them up and put them on the horse. And then we have to keep a hand on a thigh or an ankle or, put our arm over their legs to keep them upright and make sure they're safe on the horse.
Yeah, to make sure they're balanced. We get a lot of, stories like that where we have, their first word is said at Project Ride in the barn, walk, because they want to get going and get that horse moving. A lot of our students who are nonverbal, they tap the horse's neck to walk and communicate with us that way, or through iPads that we have that have, specific buttons that they learn to tap for walk and whoa. We also have, students who can't sit up at all. And, it takes us years of them riding. I don't know if you know this, but horse's movement actually mimics the body and uses those muscles as if they're walking. So if it's a child or a person who is in a wheelchair or who can't normally use their legs to walk, the horse is actually working those muscles and building those muscles so that someday they can walk. And we've seen, kids come out of wheelchairs from riding.
I never knew that. I should have maybe known that, but that's interesting. So all the same muscles that you use to walk are being exercised.
Right. So that's why it's such a true therapy. Not only is it therapy recreationally, it's, a type of physical therapy that they're not, in an office setting. It's, out in the arena and they don't realize, but their, body is working in so many different ways while riding the horse that it's strengthening them.
Oh, my goodness. So some of the riders can't walk, or some of your students unable to walk?
Yep.
So they're unable to walk. Some are unable to speak.
Mm-hmm. Varies. We have so many different clientele that, it's amazing.
Oh, boy. I got to turn this camera on Mark because I have to have people know who Mark is, by the way. I'm sorry. You're not seeing this, folks, but I really need to have a camera
Hello.
on Mark.
Thanks.
Here's Mark. Mark,
Thank you.
so these stories are wonderful. So how often do you volunteer, basically?
Well, lately I haven't had the time, but I was going once, twice a week, and just a few hours here and there, doing everything from mucking out a stall to when we are helping lead the horses. One of the things we do is we have to take them out of the stalls, curry comb them down, prepare them, get the saddles on them and all their gear, and get them ready, pick their feet, actually pick up their feet and get the whatever's stuck in between their hooves out and get them ready for the day's activities. So there's a lot of interaction between us and the horses too, and I enjoy that.
I know. I always tell people, you want to ride my horse? You know what you got to do first?
That's right.
Muck the stall, brush the horse, groom it, hoof pick them.
Yep.
Because if you're not willing to do that, you're not getting on the horse. So many people think, just hop on the horse and go for a ride, but they don't realize that horse needs to be taken care of first before you even put a saddle on it.
That's right. And as volunteers, we also, if we're sitting around, you go grab a broom and a dustbin and go pick up what's left behind from the horses in the arena or on the apron around the arena itself. We have to sweep up and do what we can.
Who saddles the horses?
We do.
Oh,
The
you do?
leaders
The
do.
volunteers?
The leaders do.
Oh,
Mhm.
leaders.
So the instructor will assign what saddle goes on what horse and, what tack they need, and then the leaders will get them ready.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised when you come into our barn. We always get references that we have like one of the cleanest barns ever. It's because we have such great volunteers that are always on top of things. And volunteering doesn't necessarily mean committing every week. If you can come once a month for a couple hours, we'll take that. We have lots of different positions available for everybody. If you are unable to participate in the arena, we also have jobs outside of the arena that we need help for, as well as we always need volunteers at our fundraising events.
So give out contact information I don't know that we covered that, but put that out there, please, for the audience.
So we have a Facebook page that you can find us on, Project Ride Inc. We also have a website, which is www.projectride.org. And our general office phone number is 916-685-7433.
You talked about an orientation for volunteers that is held, did you say once a week?
Once a month.
Oh, once a month, pardon me. And what day of the month is that?
It's usually a Monday, but it varies, and that you can also find out by calling the office, and we'd be happy to send you out the paperwork that you would need prior to attending the orientation.
So that orientation is a mandated thing if you're going to want to volunteer for Project
Correct.
Ride, correct?
It just explains all the safety situations, where everything is. It gets you oriented to the facility, puts you, in our little family.
Yeah, sounds so wonderful. What else can you share? Laurie?
I also wanted to mention our wonderful parent group that's supported. So one of the items we talked a little bit about, but the socialization that occurs at the barn is pretty remarkable because these kids see kids just like themselves with a sense of joy and confidence and a similar experience riding a horse. And just not anybody gets to do that. So that feeling we call is a ride with pride. And we have a parent group by that name that supports our parents and students to also share words and experiences and ways they can also be supported.
So that group meets there at the barn?
They do,
or-
yes. And that's also an online group called Ride Pride, and you can find that at projectride.org as well. And as we've already mentioned, it is such a transformative experience for not only those students that come and ride, but of course for all the volunteers.
Is there a long waiting list to get into your program? I need to
Yes,
cover that.
and
How long a list?
we
How long a
do.
wait is it now?
We do. We have more than 100 people on our wait list, close to 150. So our desire is to ride everyone, and we work towards that, and that's why we have our fundraisers. And currently, it depends a lot on availability and when we can plug a student in, but we are riding 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and that's pretty much, you'll find us riding 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Oh, okay. So now how long will it take those 100 people to get into the program, you think? I mean, does it vary?
It does vary. It depends on their availability and flexibility, but we try to get in new riders every session. So each session will be about 8 to 10 weeks, and then we bring in a new rider. So over the course of a year, we'll try to get through most of the riders. The thing is, the need is so great that the wait list continues
Are you thinking of expanding? Well, is that in any future plan for Project Ride to expand?
Yes, so we are in the process of getting a outdoor arena built. It's a covered arena. That way we can do simultaneous lessons and have two arenas. Therefore, getting more instructors and taking some of the kids waiting on off of the wait list.
When do you project that to be done?
By December of this year.
Oh, wow. So it's underway.
It's underway.
So, folks, you need to donate to this cause. This is a wonderful cause, and if folks want to donate, they can just log onto your website. Can
Yep,
they
we have
donate via the web, or do they have to physically come in, or
Either way, they can come in or they can donate off of our website. There's a donation tab, and you could put specifically what you want it to go for. You know, lessons, the horse care, whatever you want.
Wonderful. And so, and all the spaghetti feeds and crab feeds and all that money's going. So that's another way of donating, right? So just attend these functions, and those functions, I presume, are on your website, correct?
That is
Right.
correct.
Even if you own a business and you want to donate a raffle item for an event, we're always looking for that as well. You know, raffle, silent auction items, all the money that we raise that goes directly to Project Ride. So if you have a business or something where you can give a certificate of some sort or a basket, then that also helps.
Well, it's been wonderful having all three of you. I'm sorry, Mark, I left
That's
you
okay.
out. It's been really wonderful having you all here to talk about Project Ride, and just thank you so much for being here. And we look forward to having everybody listen to my show next Monday again. Have a great day today, and relax and enjoy the day.
Goodbye,
Take care.
everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Yield Mortgage Company is an equal housing NMLS 3274, licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Rob Warner, NMLS 825102. All loans subject to underwriter approval. Terms and conditions may apply, subject to change without notice.